So we already know that kadosh Baruch Hu, we already learned three midot of kadosh Baruch Hu, midot harachamim, mi el kamocha, that kadosh Baruch Hu is embarrassed, he's an embarrassed king, he receives. We learned noseh avon, that kadosh Baruch Hu lifts up the sin, right? He supports the sin, over al pesha, that kadosh Baruch Hu himself wipes out the sin, and we're going to learn now today a deeper level of rachamim of Hashem, another deeper level of the 13 midot. לשארית נחלתו. Nachala is inheritance or property. She'erit is the leftovers of it. That means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a midah that he treats his nachala, she'erit nachalato. Let's see inside. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitnaheg עם ישראל בדרך הזאת. This is HaKadosh Baruch Hu treats עם ישראל. אומר, מה אעשה לישראל והם קרוביי? What could I do to this nation? They're my relatives. שאר בשר יש לי מהם. They're my kids. שהם בת זוג לקדוש ברוך הוא. We know that עם ישראל, נשמות ישראל, כנסת ישראל, there's many different references, the relationship of Hashem and Am Yisrael, many names, many different references. We're going to see one of them is called bat zug. Really, the latter goes that first, Knesset Israel, the relationship of the Am Yisrael to Hashem is called a daughter. After it's called a daughter, it's called a sister. And after it's called a sister, it's called a mother. We see that there's psukim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is referring to Am Yisrael as his daughter. And we're going to see these. The nekudah here is that there's a relationship that we could understand from our physical relationship. The same way we're all human beings, but a human being has something closer to his relatives. Why? Why do you like your son? Because he's your son. Look, the other guy across the street is so much, the other boy is so much more talented. Why? He's my son. He's my son. This is me. This is my essence, what I love. We're going to see this stems from an original place in heaven. Saturday. ישראל עם קרובו. עם קרובו, ממש קרובה יש לו עמהם ובניו הם. זה בפסוק, בנים אתם לאדוני אלוהיכם. So all this, we're touching upon the depth of the relationship that our nation has with Hashem. So this is what it means, the she'er nachalato. לשון she'er basar. בסוף סוף הם נחלתו. The Jewish nation, the kids of Hashem, are the nachla, the property of Hashem. And if he punishes them, mamar, ima anishen, arei ha'ke'ev alai. Right? I sometimes tell my kids, I sometimes tell my son or my daughter, right, we have to give them a little correction, maybe you'll do something wild, and I have to give them a punishment, right? Kids can go out of line, you have to. And I tell them sometimes afterwards, I said, sometimes when Abba gives you a punishment, sometimes I cry because it's hard for me, because I don't want to do this. Right? So we understand this in our human relationships. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're going to see that when Am Yisrael, when any single Jew goes through pain, as a matter of fact, the Shekhinah, the presence of Hashem, is the one that's really the mother, right? A mother and a child, so you can see the child's in pain, but the pain of the mother is way, way, way bigger than the pain of the child, even though the child may be the one actually hurting. Ima anishem, arei ha'ke'ev alai. If I punish them, the pain is on me. B'chol tzaratam lo tzar. Very interesting pasuk. Whoever has a book inside, you can see. So it says in the pasuk, in the Shaya, b'chol tzaratam lo tzar. Whenever they have a tzara, lo tzar. So it says lo with an aleph, meaning in all the tzaras, lo tzar. It's not really a tzara. However, we read it with a vav. Lo, it means to him. So if I look at the word lo, lamed aleph, it's no. But lamed vav is to him. So if I say in all of their troubles, there's no trouble, I could be lamed aleph, there's no trouble up there. Or I could say when they're in trouble, lo tzar, he's in trouble. The trouble goes, the pain goes into the heavens. Lomar shetzara magia lapele ha'elyon. That means that when there is a minimization of the shefa in this world due to the wrong behavior of the creation, so there's pain and suffering, So actually, the pain and suffering is not just here. It originates from the depths of the heavens, because the creation flows from the highest point in creation, which is called Keter Elyon, the Keter, from the highest will, from the will into the wisdom, from the wisdom into the understanding, and from there into the action. So there's a flow down from the creator into the creation. And when the creation is in pain, that means that somewhere on the root level, there's a minimization of a revelation of Hashem. It means it's midas adin. So when we see pain in this world, we're looking at branches, we're looking at leaves. Let's go deeper into the stem, into the tree, and let's go deeper into the roots. So whatever's happening on the fruit level or on leaf level is really happening on a root level. So when we see in this world, in the olamot chitzaniyut olamot, in the external parts of the world, pain, this pain is stemming from deep, deep, deep pain. That means that in the high worlds, there's less revelation of the mercy of Hashem and more judgment, more more correction. Even though these things in the long term are good, everything is gamzu l'toiva. Right? Like Rosh Hashanah, we dip the apple in the honey. We say Shana Tova u'metuka, because Shana Tova is for sure going to be everything is good, but it's not always sweet. It's not always sweet, right? The goodness could be bitter. Sometimes goodness could be, right? A person appreciates a good sour pickle or a good bitter piece of chocolate. Goodness can come in all kinds of flavors, but we want metuka. We want Shana Tova metuka. We want it to be good in a way that we can understand it. Pele, Pei Lamed Aleph. Pele in English could be like a wonderment or Pele Elyon is one of the terms for the ketel. That means that there's a very high anhaga that seems to be kule rachman, but lemaisa, we know in Kabbalah that when there's a chisaron in the lower worlds, which is called zeir anpin v'nukve, really also Abba and Ima, which is the worlds above it, also have a chisaron, and the ketel that originates the Abba and Ima also has a chisaron, and the acharayim of the ketel. That means that there's the minimization that we're experiencing in the lower levels is clearly stemming through the entire chain of command, so to speak, of creation. And also the higher worlds are then suffering. And that's why it says lo with an aleph, but really, because lo with an aleph is like, it doesn't, our effects, you think it doesn't go up there, but really it goes up there. And everything that we do affects inward. Just like, right, your kids came out of you and now your grandkids are out of you, but what your grandkids do will affect inward back into you. Right? So it's, again, we're made parallel to the world. It's not that, right? So the more we can understand ourselves and the world, it's really the same. Our human relationships are all one. כל שכן לדו פרצופים שלהם עיקר ההנהגה, דקרינו בבב לא צר, וכתיב ותקצר נפשו בעמל ישראל, ושאינו סובל צערם וקלונם מפני שערים שערית נחלתם. הקדוש ברוך הוא, the creator of the world, the one, the good one. There's so much pain in the heavens when the lower worlds are not behaving properly, and then therefore the flow can't flow into the worlds. So our consciousness right now may be in the lower world consciousness, but actually this is really the highest place, because based on how the vessels behave in this world, that's how much light could flow in. So when the vessels are pure, when they're aligned, when they're whole, so Oren Sof could be sure. Oren Sof could only rest on a being that's whole and complete. Anything that has a mum, that has a chisaron, that has a blemish, the infinite, the divine light can't rest in it. So obviously our consciousness will be on the lowest level, but that's also how much God is there in the world, as how much God we allow in our mind. Right? They asked the Kotzker Rebbe, where is God? Where is Hashem? He said, wherever you let him in. Right? So we have to let him into the world, because at the end of the day, to bring in the godly consciousness into the physical, it could all flow through all the heavens, but it's stopped by us. And if I want my ego, if I'm involved with my ego, I'm not going to be transmitting the O and so. Okay. ככה אדם עם חברו. כל ישראל הם שאר בשר אלוהים אלו. This is really such an important Torah to learn these days, because we're like mamish a minute before Mashiach, and Hashem is bringing back the Yidden from all over the world. And you could go into every shul today, and There's not a minyan that doesn't have Ashkenazi and Sephardi and Gerim and Temanim and black and white and Chassidim and Litvish, and it's amazing, like the what you know, and that brought with it so much diversity and also so much difference, right? Why are this group doing this and this group doing this, and why is everyone the same? And there's so much going on. And really, this is the Torah that we really have to be dealing with right now is Torah of Rachamim, of mercy, and the Torah of Shalom, of really the light's coming down. The only thing that we need to do is create the vessel, and the vessel is Shalom. It means that the Piasetzner Rebbe writes something so deep. He writes in the Shalat HaRachiv, he says, believe me, my brother, I promise you, my brother, he writes, Achi, that any negative thought that you have about any negative about a Jew, no matter even if you think it's L'Shem Shemayim and according to Shulchan Aruch and I'm right, it's this, anything negative is all sitrach. It's all the dark side. Meaning that we have to know that in our time, right now, what's the dark side? What's the putting all of his power in is to dividing us. And this is the Gemara says the first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed for horrible sins. They were serving idols at Beit HaMikdash. There's Sefer Yecheskel, horrible, unbelievable. Bet Avodah Zarah and Gilui Arayot and Shfichut Damim, killing prophets, unbelievable. That was the first. But the exile 70 years was enough for that. There was enough correction in 70 years to bring back Am Yisrael at the track, and they came back with Ezra Sofer and built the second Beit HaMikdash. The second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of Sinat Chinam. And Sinat Chinam is such a deep word because it's Chinam. It's for nothing. And V'adayin meraked benenu. That's why it's not getting together. It's because there's between us, there's Sinat Chinam, there's baseless hatred. As a matter of fact, there's a ma'amah from the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's good to learn it. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was once in a Fabrengen, and he asked, and he was going to give one of his chassidim a l'chaim. And the chassid couldn't find a clean cup because all the cups were being used, and he didn't want to use a cup with someone else. And the Rebbe held that's not Ahavat Yisrael. That means you don't love each other enough. If you could still, like, if you're sitting and you're still learning in the same place, like every day, and like you're still stuck on the cup. And he gave a whole mimer on this called Hichaltzu, tremendous mimer. We're over there. And I know he explains that since a human being is a microcosmic creation, we have everything inside of us. We have a Moshe, you have Aaron, you have Avram, you have a Malek. Right? When Purim comes, we worry about that Malek of our nefesh, the doubt that exists in our nefesh. We also have a nation called Midian. Midian was the final battle that Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded before he died. Hashem tells him, take the revenge of Midian, and then you're leaving the world. So Midian is the final enemy as the Jews are entering Eretz Yisrael. That's Moshe Rabbeinu's final mission after he kills Og and Sichon, big Rishaim, the wicked powers that were running the world. Moshe Rabbeinu cleared out the world from so much evil. And he was going through nation by nation. And then Midian was the final nation. So, and then there's a whole revenge, and they go war with Midian. So, but Lubavitch Rebbe explained that this exists in our nefesh, that we all have inside of us a klipat Midian. That means that I hate a Jew before I meet him. When I meet you, I just realize why I hate you. That means there's a tendency in our being, a sinat chinam, a baseless part of our personality, of our wrong, the crookedness in our heart. There's something in the ugliness in our heart that we have to remove. There's so much of it. But one of it is that you just have a dislike to someone before you meet them, right? Today, politically speaking, it's so easy to understand. People politically oppose. When you meet them, oh, your yarmulke is that color? We must hate each other. That can't be. We can't be on the same team. We're in the same team. We're in the same family. Hashem finally brought us back after 2,000 years. And this is right now what we have to, and this is exactly the midah that we're dealing with, is building ahavat chinam. So the opposite of sinas chinam is mamish. If I would say that the hippies were right, I believe the hippies were right. I just believe that the only issue that the hippies had was the hippies didn't have any towards. They only had away from. They were away from America, away from Westernism, away from money, and they were right, away from war. But they didn't have Torah. So the hippies that became Bali Tshuva, for me, they're the real hippies. Like, they mamish live a hippie life. Because we have to, avat chinam, it's mamish, we have to develop inside of us that I'm going to love you. So that means that, I speak about this a lot with my guys and myself, really, I try to do this. Before you go anywhere, to try to sit a moment with yourself, mindfulness, and say, wait, I'm about to go into a room, right? There'll be 20, 30 people, maybe there'll be 500, maybe you're going to a wedding, maybe you're going to who knows where, these all types of people, maybe you're about to sit on a plane with all kinds of people sitting around you. There'll be all types, all types. I have to make space in my heart to see past the physicality. I know when I meet you, you're going to look different. It's after 2,000 years of exile. Right? It says, don't look at me I look so dark, you can't recognize me. I've been out in the sun for 2,000 years. It's as if you can't recognize me, it's galut, it's not me. So before we meet each other, we have to mamash realize that we're a nation, a family, brothers, sisters in pain, all in galut, and Hashem is bringing us back together. And now the last thing that we have to do is allow ourselves to be in love with each other. It allows us to be together and to create and to realize that there's going to be a tendency inside of us that in Israel is very, very empowered by politics. The politics in Israel, very, very much like whatever difference there could be. If you're like gray and off gray, they'll make you black and white. They'll polarize the differences right away, and right this and every the news. They love bad news and they love anything to create hype and
Leads.
Right.
And Beit Medrash, I think, is a show of how busyness of this octopus, because we're doing it.
Right, but this in general, this learning of compassion is learning of unity. It's learning about how the right way to see the world is and how the right way to see each other is. Okay. So we're mamish one family. This is the Tanya and Perek Lamed Beis. Everyone wants to see this deeper. Very kedai to learn the Tanya, Perek Lamed Beis. Even if you don't learn Tanya, it's a standalone perek. Learn it, you should know it by heart. It's a very, very important perek. Why? Because the mitzvah is so different. It's such a big challenge. And it's so important. So over there, we address, if we want to be realistic, how do we actually do this? Okay, it's very nice to talk about love, but how do you be in love? When we're so diverse, we're so different, there's so many opinions and so much going on. What's going on? How do we do this? We realize that what's different about us is our outside. Our neshamot, our essence, our mission. Like imagine a bunch of soldiers meeting together, right? One soldier's wearing a white uniform because he's in the Air Force, and the other guy's wearing green uniform, and the other guy's wearing, his super trooper uniform, but they're all on the same team. All same team. Yesh bezeh chelek bezeh, bezeh chelek bezeh. This is so deep. We have to know we're the same team, but we all have each other in each other. All of you live in me, and I'm inside of all of you. And every Jew is inside of every other Jew. Because the souls are mamish one. That's why there's no comparison. The avodah of the random. The avodah of Yachid, the individual could get very close to Hashem and do a lot of mitzvahs. And very, very nice. The individual could get very high level. But there's no comparison what an individual could do and what a collective, what a group. In spirituality, 1 + 1 is not 2. It's infinite. And once you join someone, Hashem says, wait, ani Hashem. I'm joining my blessing here. So it's not, meaning you guys make the decision to be at peace, and I'm in the partnership. That's why it's very important before any mitzvah that you do to have in mind that I'm doing this mitzvah in the sake, in the merit, with the connection of every single Jew. B'Shem Kol Yisrael. Because to understand this is that every Yid has to keep all the mitzvot. Because the mitzvot are the shlemut. But how could every Jew, how could every individual be also a man and also a woman and also a kohen and also a Levi and also a Yisrael and also a king and also poor and also rich? Not all the mitzvot are everyone's. So, okay, so one answer, okay, many reincarnations. God has time. You'll come back, one time you'll be rich, one time you'll be poor, then you'll be a kohen. That's one answer. But that could take a very long time. The ultimate way to bring the tikkun the fastest is realizing this nekuda, that I am in everything and everything is me. We're everything. And when I do something, the rest of the team doesn't have to do it. If I do it for them. We're one team. We don't have to double dip. We all do, right? If you're doing something well, you're doing it for me. Let me do something else well for you, because we can't do everything all the time. You can't. So when You're doing a fresh Challah. B'Shem Kol Yisrael. Any mitzvah that you're doing, even if you get tzedakah, B'Shem Kol Yisrael, that what you're doing is you're having in mind that what I'm doing right now, Mizak, I want the entire collective Jewish body to be connected to its essence. I'm not doing this as me. I recognize that I am I'm the nation. The I is a greater I. When the nation behaves in this way, then you don't have to be everything. Because if the poor guy receives tzedakah and he's having in mind B'Shem Kol Yisrael, I'm the final Hey Hashem Yitke Vavke, and I'm receiving it. That's it. The whole Israel receives tzedakah. And when the rich guy gives the tzedakah, he's giving it, and he's having the kavanah that I'm giving the tzedakah B'Shem Kol Yisrael. It's kavanah. Everyone's yotzeh. So then the rich guy doesn't have to be poor, and the poor doesn't have to be rich. We're all doing each other's avodah because we're one family. B'Shem Kol Yisrael is an unbelievable trick of the Kabbalah and the Chassidim for every mitzvah that they do. Right? Say Hashem Yichud Kucha B'Richu Shechina. I'm doing this mitzvah to unify the name of Hashem, the Torah, with the world, with the Shechina. And I'm doing this B'Shem Kol Yisrael. I'm doing this to enhance the entire consciousness of the entire family, the entire team, the zchut of the entire team. We're one team. And not only that, I'm allowing myself to receive the mitzvot that other people are doing for me. It's very important. I'm allowing myself. Everyone, the one of the tzaddikim writes that before davening, they would connect themselves to everyone in Am Yisrael. There are people that are tzaddikim more than me, and they're having me in mind, I'm connected to them. And there's people that are not davening at all. I'm having them in mind. There's people that are wherever you are in the ladder, there's souls higher and souls lower. And always connect yourselves to the souls that are higher than you, that are connecting everyone. And have in mind the souls that are lower than you, because we're one team. We're one team. There's no, the success, mamash, when we get this, when I'm sorry, we should get this halavai today. Oh, you see that, right now there's a big levaya going on. I can't be there right now, because we're here. There's a big levaya going on, right? How much pain and suffering sobers people up from so much. In funerals, people are so sober, they're so real, they're so in touch. We don't have to be in that pain. We don't need pain to wake us up. There's enough pain. Like we all had enough pain. We don't need more pain to wake us up. Let's wake up with love. Let's decide to be proactive. Let's love each other. And that's what we're saying. We're learning this sefer. This sefer is an invitation to teach you that the difficulties in your life are the invitation into mercy. There's no way you're going to have to be merciful to someone if they're not super annoying to you or super hurtful to you.
To be?
Of course.
You have to like them to be annoying?
Well, if your friend is nice to you, you like them because you like them. That's not being merciful. You just like them because you just like yourself. But when someone's being annoying to you, deliberately causing you pain,
you keep away from them.
Of course, if we're talking about a love, if someone's not abusing you, of course you keep away from them. But if in a relationship there was a pain, a wrongdoing happening to you, and now your ego is really, really hurt, this is your chance to say, wait, I'm not going to be an animal. I'm not going to behave for my lower animal self. I'm actually a God. I'm going to go deeper inside myself and say, hey, how did Avraham Avinu and Yitzchak and Yaakov and Sarah and Rivka and Rachel and Leah behave? And how does God behave? How does God behave when we get him upset? God teaches us his midat harachamim. This study of this book that we're learning now is we're studying the personality of God. Why? To become like him. Because we are Adam. Adam could be anything. Adameh. You could be anything you want. You could even be a God. So that's our Am Yisrael. We're here to become mamish to Atem advekim ba'Adonai Elohechem chayim kulchem hayom. Mamish. So when those opportunities come up to be nice, when do you have to be merciful to someone? When you have to dig for mercy, it's not natural for you. So those opportunities are invitations into the godly parts inside of us. That's what we said. The Rambam brings down the story. One of the Chachamim, they asked him, what was the happiest day of your life? And he says, the happiest day of my life. This is a couple of months ago, I was on some cruise on a ship somewhere. And it was a big ship, and he was on the bottom, and he was learning or praying or meditating or whatever. And on the top, there was a bunch of drunk sailors. And they see a rabbi meditating on the bottom, and one of them decides to urinate on his head.
Oh.
And you know what? He gets it on his head. And his rabbi is sitting in the middle of prayer and is urinating on his head. And he said at that moment, he said his whole life he was preparing for that.
Really?
Because his whole life he was preparing to be in equilibrium, just equal. Shiviti Hashem, to not here, it's all from Hashem. And And he said that his
choice. They had the choice to do that.
They had the choice, and he said, and they were working towards getting towards this level. And he said the happiest moment in his life was when his first reaction was, "Thank you, Hashem." Meaning he was training for this. This happened before, and he maybe got upset, but then he had a 2-second delay, and then he got it. But when he was able to uproot his nature and make it a godly nature, that was wow. This is success. I reached something. So that for him was a happy moment. Okay, so when someone pushes my button and I just yell back at them, that's okay. It's animal to animal, jungle to jungle. Very nice. Nothing godly happened there. But if someone pushed my buttons and I said, wait, I have 2 personalities inside of me. This is my natural self. I could just come and react. But wait, I'm a little older. I notice that there's godliness in the world. There's mercy. I'm gonna try to become like God. And I'm going to learn God's ways, and I'm going to see why he behaves this way, and I'm going to behave like him, and then I'm going to become like him. But then you become a superhuman. You become untouchable. You're above everything. That's not the reason for doing it, but that's what God is, a super.
It's a good hope. Everybody. It's good hope for all of us.
Alavai? Why not? Everyone should have happy lives. Imagine if all of us had lives where no one could, Hillel HaZaken, the Gemara says the story, Hillel HaZaken was the leader of Am Yisrael. Great leader. They think a great leader, such a big rabbi, he knew so much Torah. That doesn't make you great. In the eyes of the Torah, knowing a lot does not. What makes people great is their personality. And the Gemara says this story that 2 friends had an argument. They said, Hillel, he's such a great personality. I never saw him get upset in my life. He's sitting in court, he's dealing with all kinds of stuff all day, and he never got upset. The guy says, I could get him upset. He says, no way you can't get him upset. He says, listen, I could get anyone upset. I got kicked out of every class in, school. And they know, yes, they make a bet for 400 points. There's a lot of money. There's no way you're going to get him upset. And Erev Shabbos, right? Friday, the whole house is in chaos. Everyone's running around. They knock on the door. And some guys go screaming, Hillel! Who's Hillel? Who's Hillel? Hillel's the leader of Rav or Kodo or Kisses. No one's calling him about. And he comes and says, yes, here I am. What could I do for you, my son? And he starts asking him ridiculous questions. Why do Africans have such wide feet? And why do Chinese have slanted eyes? And he keeps on coming back. And he just comes back and answers them with patience. And at the end, after he kept trying and he couldn't get him upset, he started cursing him. He said, why are you cursing him? He says, because of you, I lost 400 gold coins. So he says, it's kedai if you lose another 400 for Hillel not to get upset. So we could really be on that level. Meaning no one could upset you. We could get upset. And it's very okay, meaning to react in a natural way is to be natural is okay. We're not angels, but we're meant to be higher than the angels. Meaning you're born with an animal spirit that's lower than the angels, and you're given a godly consciousness that's higher than the angels. And that's the struggle of the Jewish life, being in that duality. And that too. And the way to reach what we're doing is to bring up the animal soul and bring it up to the level of the godly soul. And then when you do that, then your animal soul is about tshuva, and he's infused with godliness. And then you have 2 good souls inside of you. And then that good soul is the soul that you created. Meaning, where do we go after 120? Into the body that you created. Because you got it raw and bad and negative and selfish. And you upgraded it into a godly surah. That's what you go into. That's you made. If there's one thing that a person does in his life, is the only thing that you could really do is bring godliness into your animal soul. That's the only thing that could be changed. Right?
The thing that bothers me about that story is the drunken sailor. Like, what good was it for the drunken sailor that the Rav reacted? It's like encouraging bullying.
No.
It's like,
Well, look, the drunken sailor went on in his way, and I'm sure he'd done this before and he did it after. I don't think his life wasn't changed. This rabbi was aiming at godliness. This rabbi had a goal. And the Ashgacha Platit around us.
he was attacking himself.
Every
time
time
it wasn't attack in the world.
Like that, he didn't do anything, so that bully isn't gonna do that again to somebody else.
It's just talking about how do you teach a person who's doing something bad to you?
That's actually how you do it, because what you want to do is, of course, you want the bully to stop doing what they're doing, but that's got to come from within that person, and that person has to have a sudden revelation within themselves to stop doing what they're doing. It could actually embarrass the bully. It could, which is like murdering the bully. It's just like you. Sometimes when a person does bad things, there comes a point when they realize, oh man, I'm a real rotter.
Right. They hit a certain rock bottom within them.
Sometimes that happens because the person doesn't lash out at them or push back. They actually take it, and then the guy's like, oh, and then so it's really, in a sense, that equanimity, the equanimity of the quote victim who refuses to be a victim.
By not victimizing himself, you're saying that he's causing.
He actually causes. He has there's like a little chip in the neshama of the bully. A little chip, and of course, the more he, and eventually you hope that with the help of a kadosh Baruch Hu, eventually he will have, the light will chip away at the garbage all over the glass, and the light will come through.
I think in a bigger sense, the Baal Tanya writes that the world is divided the 600,000 neshamas. So the world is divided 600,000. Your neshama has a 600,000 of every plant or animal. Like your relation is connected to everything. So when we're good, the parts in creation that are good are good, meaning our good affects the entire creation. You can see this by Noach, that by Noach, all the people were bad and then the entire world was corrupt. But Noach kept holy, and they were able to bring in a pair, meaning there was only another pair of each animal in the world that was holy. How did that animal stay holy if all the animals were being not holy? Because those animals were connected to the neshama of Noach. Since Noach was keeping himself aligned, so all the animals and trees and properties connected to him stayed aligned. So when you're not a small thing. We see ourselves as small, but you're affecting everything very strong. And when you, inside of you, make a decision to bring more godliness inside of you, there's actually more godliness in the entire creation. Because we're all made out of everything, and your consciousness is affecting everything. And there's more of a feeling of let's do tikkun on our nefesh habehemit. Let's fix our nefesh habehemit, which in a certain sense, in a subconscious way, could also affect the villain. There are many criminals and gangsters that when they see a rabbi like there's something that really awakens them and shocks them, and even them, like you're saying, there's a tzaddik inside.
They realize they have a point where they get over the line, or they go to the line, and the line is gotten to.
But our point is not really to think about them. It's more to think realize you're affecting the world, and you're affecting the world by the way you're behaving. So if you behave in a godly way, the world will be a better place.
Yes.
So I wanted to say, it seems like, and I that's great, that when we make tikkun in ourselves, then we're also mashpia on others.
For sure. That's what we're saying. We're saying that all the kulam is klulim ze bazeh. And that's why הנמנע מ10 ראשונים בבית הכנסת, אפילו 100 הבאים אחריהם מקבל שכר כנגד כולם, 100 ממש כמשמעו. There's a very big Indian to be from the first 10 people in shul. That first 10 people in the minyan, the first 10 people in the minyan, the Gemara says that even if 100 people come after, you get schar for everyone. Because the first 10 people to bring the Shekhinah, 10 made out of 10. Or the first 10 are really 100. Because each one is made out of everyone. 10 כלולים אלו באלו, 10 פעמים 10, 100. כל אחד מהם כלול מ100, אם כן אפילו יבוא 100, יש לו שכר כנגד 100. וכן מטעם זה ישראל ערבים זה לזה. So this is a famous chazal that's very important to learn. כל ישראל ערבים זה לזה. ערבים is a co-signer. You have Arab as a co-signer. We'll co-sign for each other in Har Sinai and later on, different places, different shvuot that Am Yisrael took to the Torah. מפני שממש יש בכל אחד ואחד, בכל אחד חלק איבר מחברו. וכשחוטא אחד פוגם את עצמו, פוגם חלק אשר לחברו בו. That means that the same way the body has many parts, also the entire generation, we said, is like one body. So every one of us is connected to a different limb in the body, right? If you look at the entire Am Yisrael that's alive today, is like one person. And there's some people that are the eyes of that person, like the Chachamim are called the Einei. People that are the Balei Tzedakah are called the Yadayim, the hand. The people that so every one, according to where his soul is from, that's where his function is going to be in the world. So that means that each one of us has every one of us, because the body parts, it's all everything's included from everything. So it's Arevim. Arevim, so it also means we're responsible, and that's why we could say B'Shem Kol Yisrael. Arevim is also in Chassidus, they say Arevim is Lashon, Arev is a sweet. Right? Always says Arevim Zelazeh. There's a sweetness that we could find. Every Jew could find sweetness in every Jew, because we really are one. My father has this sign in his office. He quotes from one of the Sfarim. He says, even though so many things look so ugly when you first meet them, but if you take a little bit of time to see in them, you'll see how beautiful they are. Like there's so many things that when you meet them at first can look so, but with Idbonenut, and this is really Yidden, and we have to realize.
Not all parts of the body are beautiful, are they? On anybody, even on Miss World, she's got a bottom.
Right.
You know what I mean? She's not that. She's beautiful, yeah, but not really.
Everyone is made out of everyone. Everyone has everyone inside. Everyone has everything inside of
And
it.
every part counts. Because if you leave one part out, then it's not whole.
Of course not. What would you give up on your pinky?
To be beautiful.
Of course not.
You know?
Every part is necessary. People, like a person has a little thorn in their foot, and their whole thing, they're all out of whack.
It's going to rule, that foot is going to
Yeah,
rule
everything.
the world.
So Arevim Zelazeh mamish, we're all mamish. Kol echad chelek mechaveroi. So that means when a person sins, you're darkening your essence, and not just your essence, wherever you are. So there's parts of inside of us that are dark because there's people that are dark. And when those people do tshuva, and their light shines, so then their light inside of us shines. Let's say there's one guy who's like the shoulder. He's from the shoulder of this generation.
That's the problem is.
Right? And he's sleeping, he's out to lunch, he doesn't realize he's Jewish, he doesn't realize nothing. So then in my being, I'll feel like my doing, whatever the shoulder means, support or weight or whatever it is, there'll be a darkness. One day this guy does tshuva, and suddenly I feel like Gavad, I feel like something new, like, you know, why? Because he woke up, and that part of him inside of me woke up. Because we're all inside each other, all of Am Yisrael. We're affecting each other all the time.
And the thing is rather than think, oh, there must be something wrong with somebody else, I don't feel good, is to work on yourself, because then you can affect them.
Right. Rav Nachman, I think those stories of Rav Nachman was some of the tzaddikim that would be sitting and suddenly they would start laughing very strong. And because it was thinking of Rav Nachman, one of the tzaddikim was born. When a tzaddik was born, they felt it. The big tzaddikim that are interested in the success of the team, they're not in their own world. They're with Klal Yisrael, Knesset Yisrael. They feel the pain when one of the members leave, and they feel the pain. They feel the joy when someone comes in, because it's the team. The mamish feel it. So when tzaddikim were born, there would be tzaddikim in different countries that would be sitting and suddenly start laughing and having a great time. Wow, they say, right now, big neshama came to the world. Baal Shem Tov often would be laughing, different neshamas, Barditchev, different neshamas that were born, and he would see them and be, right? Because this is a success for the team. We feel it. The whole nation wakes up because we're all included. We're all made from each other. That's why we should all be interested in the success of each other. Meaning, if a person's davening, Hashem, I want this, I want this, I want this. What should be the davening? The success of Am Yisrael, Atzlachat Yisrael, Yeshuat Yisrael, success of the team. And you have to know that in Adam נוגע במה שמוכן לחברו אפילו אם לא הנימה. The Gemara says that a person doesn't touch what belongs to his friend. You can't touch what belongs to your friend, even with a hair's breadth. The success of another person, no matter, let's say you have a business and I open a business next to you. So we may not be such good friends because you're going to take my customers, right? Not at all. Jews that had Emunah, not at all. Your success is on your line. You have a whole world that's called you. And there's a whole world that's called me. And there's a separate, the same way two hairs, every hair has a ma'ayan, has a root.
Yeah.
And no two hairs nurse from the same root. They're not jealous at each other. Every person is like that. We all have a root, exact root that you nurse from. No one touches anything else. Nothing. So therefore, sometimes I could not want your success because I feel like, if there's a cake and you're going to take the bigger slice, then that means I'm going to have to take the smaller slice. But that's not how it works.
What is your assumption?
Right. No, there are halachas, but as a matter of fact, businesses were always made in the same neighborhoods. At the time of the Gemara, there was you go into the industrial zone, there's that area of the musachnikim, and there's the area of this, and they were actually next to each other, and in the right way, they give each other business. Because let's say like that's the place where I go to fix my car, so he can't do it, he can do it. They give each other business. There's halachas of how to do it, but definitely the attitude of bitachon, that I have my own root, is definitely very, very important, because if I don't have that, then I'm not going to want you to be successful. Because I feel like if there's one faucet and you're tapping into my faucet, I'll be getting less water. But it's not like that. Everyone has their own root. It's not a pizza pie where we cut it up. Everyone gets a different. You get, right? The kids want. I want the big triangle, and the little guy gets the trunk. No, it's not how it is. Everyone has their own shefa, and mimele, we have to want this atzlacha, and the contrary. Now, more than that, not only that your success won't jeopardize my success. The opposite. I'm interested in your success because we're on the same team. I want all my members. I want all my brothers and my sisters and all this. If you're a soldier in the army, you want all the soldiers to win. You don't want to win yourself. Right. So the opposite. I'm interested in you because when you're successful and you're matzliach and it's good, you're going to be acting in more mochin de gedlut. You'll be acting from a better place. Why not? Why should a Jew be in pain? So this is ayin tova. We don't realize this how much we look at another person. This is ayin ra. Everyone knows ayin hara, the famous ayin hara. What's ayin hara? It's a judgment call. You look at a person and you have a little pain. So why? I also want, or else is right. You're taking from them. You're nursing from them. Why no? You could be inspired. You could say, "Wow, Creator of the world, you're so great. You give people such great lives. Please give me a great life." But not the thing that you're going to take something from someone. That's ayin ra. It doesn't work. So I want, to the contrary, I want we should be interested in each other's success. Mamash, your friend opens a business, stop for a minute and say, Hashem, Mamash, or even anything. Like you see a yid going through some tsar, say, Hashem, Mamash, give us that tzlach. We should be interested in each other. That's love. So we have ayin tova. Ayin tova means that when I see the good that you have, first of all, I shouldn't be looking. I should be like, mind your own business. That's a very big flaw in life. But like, even if you happen to be in another person's business, ayin tova. Trust that what Hashem is giving them is good. Maybe they did something wrong. Maybe you think you're better than them, and why? And I can't believe it. And you have so many questions and so many complaints. With the trust, Hashem knows what He's doing. I have ayin tova, meaning I'm blessing the success of my friend. Meaning the best place is not to be there. Meaning you shouldn't be looking at other people's business. But if you come across their business, ayin tova. And ayin tova is a very, very, very big midah. Chidush Hayim writes that he worked in this midah for over 20 years. And he writes at the end that what he discovered is ayin tova means to love what you have. Meaning ayin is not just an eye, it's a vision. To really be so content with what you have, to not want anything that's not yours. Because the eye could want anything. The Gemara says that Alexander the Great got to the gates of heaven and he asked the whole Gemara over there, the whole dialogue. But one of the things he asked, what's the heaviest thing in the world? And they showed him a human eye. Because the human eye, you could put it on one side of the scale and you could put the whole world on the other side, and the eye still wants more. The eye, right? The I is endless. Sharei hu mamash.
Wait, was that the I or the EYE?
The EYE.
Oh, EY.
Oh.
Yeah.
Einayim.
Actually, the I. The I also is pretty happy.
So why should I be interested in your success? Because you am I, and I am you. Hu mamash. This is a very deep calling here, and really the Tanya really goes deeper. And the Tanya says that what stops a person feeling this is when my identity is physical. When my identity is physical, when my I, right, the I is physical, then I cannot love another one like I love myself. Impossible. So that means the deeper demand in the midst of Rechov HaPalmach is to realize that you're not a body. Because if you don't like someone or something, that means that you think you're still stuck on your lower eye, and your lower eye is crashing into their lower eye, and you can't make it one. So that's not the issue. Is you're not loving another person. The issue is you don't know who you are. You don't have an identity. Your identity is baby. You were born as a baby, and you still think you're a baby. You didn't graduate yet. You didn't graduate the small I and realize you're a part of a nation. Like there's something bigger going on here. That's the deeper issue. Sim gufam ikar v'nafsham tefela, a person that does their body prime and their nefesh. Impossible to reach love. Because he writes that Yesod v'shorash kol haTorah, the foundation of the Torah, is to elevate la'alot nefesh al guf mala mala, to bring up the identity of a person. I'm not a guf, I'm a nefesh. And if I'm a nefesh, then you're a nefesh, and you're a nefesh. And if I could see myself as not a body, I could see you as not a body, and I could see ourselves as a team. I could see ourselves. You're right. So we said this. We have to close our eyes so much. You have to close your eyes, because when your eyes are open, we see difference. So that has to do with Hashem also. You can't believe in Hashem with your eyes open. With your eyes open, it doesn't look like there's a God here. It doesn't look like there's a good creator running the world. All kinds of pain and suffering and wars and who knows what. Only when he closes his eyes, he says, Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We say with our eyes closed.
Cannot see me and live.
Right? Le'ani Adam v'chai. And this is also true, I believe, with Ahavat Yisrael, that we have to really close our eyes first. We have to mamish close our eyes and really want to graduate the eye and feel myself as a spirit and feel my nation and my brothers and my sisters. I want to feel my family. I want to feel this. That means get out of your gashmius.
So when we are attacked and we feel the pain ourselves, and we feel our brothers and sisters in familial pain, that is what gets us out of ourselves.
If you're feeling the pain of Am Yisrael, yes, 100%.
I mean, it's an actual.
Yeah, to feel the joy of the nation, to feel the pain of the nation. People cry for selfish reasons. People laugh for selfish reasons. A person with a developed identity, with a developed mind, is in tune with the klal, with the spirit of what's happening. You laugh, you're rejoicing when the nation is rejoicing. When you cry when the nation is crying. All right, look at Tisha B'Av. Look at Tisha B'Av. Look how special Am Yisrael is. Every Jew on Tisha B'Av sits and cries, or wants to cry. That means every Jew is developing, we're connecting. We have a higher identity. We know that we're not just in separate bodies. We know that we're much more than that. But in order to really get there, we must have to close our eyes before. To do the mitzvah, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, needs hachana, needs prep. Sit in your eyes, sit in your room, say, wow, Hashem. Imagine the time of Yaakov Avinu, where we were just family. We all recognized each other. We all knew each other. Then we became 70. Then we became 600,000. We still knew each other. Then tribes. Then Beit Hamikdash, we would see each other 3 times a year. The whole nation knew each other. We knew each other. Then we went into Galus, and we can't recognize each other. We've been lost for so many years. We meet each other. We don't even know who we are. And say, Hashem, give me those holy eyes. Give me eyes of essence. I want to recognize it. I want to see my brothers. I want to see my sisters. I want to feel that I'm Am Yisrael. I don't want to be stuck in this lower identity of me and I and my ego and my temptations and am I a tzaddik, am I a Rosh? No, I want to feel bigger. It's a deeper calling of Ahavta l'recha kamocha. וראוי שירצה בכשרות חברו ולא ידבר בגנותו כלל. This is halachas of Lashon Hara, not to speak anything negative about any Jew. This is in general, should know. There was a big Mekuba that lived in Bnei Brak. His name was Rabbi Saraya de Bilitsky. He just nifter a couple of years ago. And he lived in Bnei Brak, and obviously in Rabbi Bnei Brak, every people come to talk. He had a sign on his entrance to the door. It says, Po lo medabrim al shum Yehudi lo tov velo ra. In this room, we don't talk about any Jew, not good and not bad. A Jew is not a topic of conversation. We don't discuss people. By discussing a person could get more Yisurim than eating 10 cheeseburgers. By one conversation, by one innocent conversation about someone. We don't discuss people. And this comes from the deep sense of we don't speak Lashon Hara. Why don't we speak Lashon Hara? But this guy did this and it was true. We don't speak Lashon Hara because we're good. Our nation is good. Am Yisrael is good. Every Yid is good. And if a Yid circumstantially falls into something, he's responsible for it. He does tshuva for it. There's no question. We take full responsibility for our words, our speech, and our action. But it's not essence. The essence of every Yid is good. Circumstantially, they could be involved in this. And that's why when I'm interested in the good of my teammate, of my brother, I'm not looking at circumstantially where they are right now. I'm looking at essence, and I'm saying, essentially, you are good. And therefore, I want you to be successful. And I'm not going to say anything negative about you. Also, HaKadosh Baruch Hu in heaven, one second, in the heaven, the angels, it's time where the angels come and they have that what to say about what's going on in the world. The accusing angel that wants to come and bring sins in front of God has only a very specific time that he can come, and God's not interested in him. But any angel that gets up in heaven, and as a matter of fact, any human that stands up in this world and wants to say kaf schus, wants to say something good about Am Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu silences the entire heavens and say, look, someone's saying something good about my kids. And right away it goes in. Anyone in the world. So that means Hashem is not interested. Why? Because it's she'er nachalato. Because this is the midah of closest that we have. We're she'erit nachalato. And this is the midah that we have to awaken inside of ourselves. The family, the familyness. That's the midah. We are family. We're one. I'm not interested in chas Hashem, any yid being embarrassed or having any pain or when I see another Jew in pain or another Jew in joy, I should feel like mamish I'm in that pain or I'm in that joy. There's obviously a very gevalt level, very beautiful level to aspire to. Very shaykh for these days, very shaykh for this a minute before Mashiach time that we're in.
Yes. Speaking of Lashon Hara, we're all the family. When my son does something bad, I don't speak Lashon Hara, but don't I try somehow to talk with him, to tell him, think about it. Are you on the right place or not? I'm not going into the public to spread that, even though he is horrible, terrible, whatever. When you see somebody does something harmful to the Jews, isn't it our obligation to try not to public, but on a personal level, to bring them back and to show them?
It says in the pasuk, "Ochach tochiach et amitecha velo tisa alav chet." The mitzvah of tochacha, rebuke. The mitzvah of rebuke is a very important mitzvah, which in that perek lamed bet in the Tanya, he discusses how does this mitzvah of rebuke fit with this attitude of v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, because this could seem contradictory, right? So he's telling you it's not. So when you love someone and you could tell them in a nice way, in a private way, what they did, you can't embarrass them, not in public. So that's a mitzvah to give tochacha. Lashon hara is what the world called gossip, right? Gossip, people like to feel good based on other people's problems. Instead of me like actually going to become better, I could just feel so much better by talking about him and her and her and her, and then feeling that I'm so much better. So that's a very gossip, unfortunately, it's a horrible, horrible, horrible. It kills. It's a real killer. People really die from it. The people that die from it are the person that says it, the person that receives it, and the subject matter. Sometimes all three of them may die from it. Very, very horrible. The power of the tongue is stronger than the power of the arms. It's, as a matter of fact, the strongest power that we have. We see that Am Yisrael in the Midbar tested Hashem many times, and Hashem forgave them. But for Lashon Hara that they said about Eretz Yisrael, that was Chet HaMeraglim. Lashon Hara is nothing. The power of the tongue. The tongue is such a flexible. It's not no bone. It's such a, and it could get you into so much trouble or so much, right? The mouth, one word, can be so important. So
even without a word, like going,
yeah,
so not friendly.
right. But words, you know, you know, you may.
You have to say.
I could
words.
probably ask you, and you could probably remember some words that were said to you at a young age that hurt you, and you would probably still remember them.
I can't.
So it's a good. So you did a good job blocking them, but they get words hit very deep.
I haven't had that.
But beautiful. You
Except for
should
my
always have.
finger. Now I remember. But
Sorry,
when I was a child, it was only decent.
I didn't mean to bring up anything.
I just was slag her up
You see,
there. No, I don't want to slag her off.
don't slack. See, if you don't slack her up, you'll just put into practice what we just studied.
I feel hard to do that.
Okay, so words, yeah, words can hit much deeper than words could be very, very, very deep, and that's what we see, that the words also in heaven. See that the attitude that the person does, words affect very much the way the Creator behaves with the world.
It's the second
So I shared a
part of
question.
Yeah, I don't know if it's beyond the scope of this year, but I just thought it up anyway. What about, like, what about cases, like I cannot ask that.
What
It's
was
like,
the-
oh, Lashon Hara is really bad, it's the worst thing you could ever do. So like, what happens if someone's really genuinely being harmed, and then like the defendant's just like, anyone.
That's a great question. So I'll just first tell you that because of this question, it's important to learn Hilchot Lashon Hara. Hilchot Lashon Hara are not long. It's not long halachas, but they're very practical. I mean, you guys as women talk more than men. You're talking all the time. You should be knowing what you're talking and what to talk and what not. So now, Lashon Hara, Lashon Hara means focusing on something negative for a bad purpose. If, let's say right now you're in a shidduch, you call me and say, hey, listen, I had a guy, I'm going out with a guy from your yeshiva. I get calls for shidduchim all the time. So I have to give honest reports, right? I'm not gonna like lie about someone to get someone married and to get someone divorced in a year. That's not the move. So that's not called Lashon Hara. If I'm saying real facts, listen, or you're gonna go into business with someone, and I know that this person is not honest. So I can come to you and say, listen, I know this information firsthand. I was in business with him. He wasn't honest to me, or went to court, whatever it was. It has to be firsthand information. And then you could warn, that's not Ra, that's not Lashon Ra. That's Lashon Tov, because you're using your speech in a productive way to defend someone. One second. To your question, if someone is abusing someone, hurting someone, whatever it is, it must be dealt with as soon as possible. There's no halachas Lashon Hara over there. People, sometimes the guy may say, oh, you're a meiser and Lashon Hara, and how you dare do that? No, the guy could be a Ritzeach. You call the police and you put him in the jail where he belongs, if that's the case. There's no one, if there's any type of, there's no question. We're talking about a case where you could handle it. You're not bubbling up with anger. You're not being abused. You're handling it. Okay, you could get to a level where you're aware that there's two reactions happening inside of you. You're aware of your animal reaction and you're aware of a godly reaction. That's okay. So then we're talking about, let's choose God. If you're chashon being abused or whatever, any of the case, you deal with it right away. Stop. If anything like that, you have to stop it right away. I think you should speak to someone in the community or whatever it is. If they don't take care of it, someone else. Unfortunately, there could be cases of abuse that people go to rabbis or other people, and they brush it off lightly. It's not to be brushed off lightly. Abuse, these things are real killers. I have students that died, mamish died, because they were abused, either committed suicide or overdosed or who knows what. Over time, they couldn't live with the pain. If there's abuse happening, it must be dealt with. There's no question about it. This is not, we're talking about over here in a case where you could handle two reactions.
There's a lot, the laws of Lashon Hara are actually complicated.
They're very complicated.
The initial, don't say Lashon Hara, that's your company anymore, except when a whole variety
So they're not complicated in a sense. They're not very long. You're right, but they have to be learned. The halachas of lashon hara have to be. We're speakers. We talk all the time. So you're learning halachas of kashrus because you eat. So you have to know what's milk and what's meat. You learn halachas of Shabbos because it's Shabbos once a week. But we talk all day. So we have to know the halachas of what's allowed. People talk to you all day. Right? I may come home and my wife wants to tell me a story. Am I allowed to listen to her? Right, of course. I listen to her. Am I allowed to believe her? Absolutely not. I believe her that this is her perspective. I take her. I to know how to listen to lashon hara. Also, it's not lashon hara. My wife telling me a story. What happened to her is not lashon hara. If I tell her it's lashon hara, then who's her husband? Who's she talking to? So this is our relationship. She talks. Right. I understand. So there's right. So you have to know what it is and how to. We have to know how to speak and we have to know how to listen also. And listening to lashon hara, there's also right. So it's not complex. I could tell you that if you make a decision to learn a halacha, one halacha a day, you get a book and learn one halacha a day. Over time, you'll become an expert in halachas of lashon hara.
The person who's abusive can also sometimes be. It's not that they could actually be a rodent. The person who abused the boy who kills himself or overdoses, the person who did whatever they did to that person is actually a rodent. And there is a whole different set of rules about how you handle a rodent.
What's a rodent?
A rodef is someone chasing his friend with a knife to kill him.
Somebody who comes to kill you, you are obligated
to
defend yourself.
Unto the death.
Where this becomes tricky, it became tricky, for example, in Europe, where you were dealing with Goyish governments and Goyish police systems, that if a Jew would go tell the cops that this Jew is stealing, then they may throw this Jew in jail or kill him. So then that became the din of rodef, and you Jews would not tell upon other Jews because the punishments were severe and sometimes death, and then it would be not proportional to the sin. You would just be a rodent, just killing the guy for stealing, which is not fair.
So shouldn't Jewish people deal with it in their own court?
There is a Beis Din today. The Jewish courts are subject to the government courts, so they're not all powerful. There are certain things that are in their thing. That's Beis Din is a minimized power. It's not a full power to.
Rav told me that the Beis Din now we're in Golos.
Big Golos. Beis Din is a big Golos. We're the whole nation's in Golos, and we see it in our courts. Right? You have the Israeli court system is running by Turkish law.
And English law.
Turkish and British law. That means Arabic, like 150-year law. Yeah, like this is our courts.
What?
And you have Beis Din with the Torah that are there. You have very, 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 very little power.
But they should be stronger.
We should be very careful before you take someone to a court.
Right. So taking of the court, that sometimes could have a din of a right if because the information given to the court and the consequence of the court would not be proportional or halachic, so you may be causing an indirect damage to someone. So therefore, that could be, they would say a meiser. But if someone is chas v'shalom sexually abusing or physically abusing someone, and you're going to go to the police and you're going to put the guy in jail, that's what you should be done immediately.
Because
that's not called a meiser, because if there's a guy that's sexually abusing kids, then he's a Ritzeach.
Okay.
Right? There was a story like this here in Tzfat years ago. One guy, it was the whole class, everyone in class is either not normal or none of them are religious. Some of them are not alive. And they're horribly injured.
Oh, that's dreadful. I didn't know that.
Yeah, this happened years ago.
The person who did it has gained the capacity of being a murderer.
And in that time where people were saying go to the police, other people were saying, no, you can't go to the police because you're a moser. So this concept of being a moser really sometimes is being abused in our communities. That's what she was asking here. And that's not the okay, let's finish on a good note. Let's finish on a good note. So
more and more of the
parents know. I don't understand.
There's become
parents do something if the kids were being abused. Why didn't the parents go to the school and take their kids out?
These are the things that damage communities terribly.
Right. Some of these things happen. Some of the parents did come, and some of the.
I wouldn't let my kid go to that school.
Neither would I.
They'd have to talk to the parents.
A lot of children.
Baruch Hashem, there's more awareness in the world. There's less things that are being swept under the carpet and the whole thing. The world is being more professional, more transparent, and that's in a good way. Even restaurants. You used to walk into a restaurant, you didn't know what's happening in the kitchen. Today's new restaurants, you walk in, everything's glass, everything's this, everything is. People want to know what's going on. They want to know who's touching my food, who's touching my kids, what's going on. I want to see what's going on. It's good. It's a very good momentum. So B'ezrat Hashem, let's take from here, B'ezrat Hashem, that l'sherit v'chalato. Let's summarize it. The attitude that Hashem has to us is, they're my family. We're family. And this attitude of family is an attitude that we should develop within ourselves. Let's rekindle the familyness between us, that feeling of familyness and of brotherhood and of sisterhood before us. And let's be in love with each other before we meet. Before we meet. That means we'll be so in love with the concept of Am Yisrael that when we meet, we don't let our externalism already bother the love that already exists there. We should build a solid base of love of Ahavat Yisrael, that your little, so what if you look a little different than me and your yarmulke is that color? I don't care. I love you already way before, a long time ago.
Yeah.
I thought you Or I was once at the Kotel. I'll just tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
I love the Kotel is like one of my favorite places in the world. I could sit there. I love Kotel. Just sit there and look past the Kotel, try to imagine the Beit Hamikdash places. I was sitting there, and this Christian guy came up to me. He's like, very polite. He's like, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Of course." I could see he was very confused. That he was looking around. I said, "What could I help you with?" He says, "I'm trying to figure out the caps. This is some of them are bigger, some are smaller, some have colors. What's the order? Like, what's the hierarchy? Who has the white ones, the blue ones?" He was trying to figure out which Jews get which yarmulkes. I was like, "Wow, how do I explain to him?" And I told him that it's not about the color of what's on our head. It's about having an awareness over our head. That each one of us has a feeling that it doesn't end in my mind. That there's a bigger picture, there's a bigger thing, and that's what we have feeling. Like, when my yarmulke falls asleep at night, I feel it. Like, it's so weird. Why should I feel it? That part shouldn't be covered, but I feel it because I always wear a yarmulke. So, like, subconsciously, there's always something over my head, meaning in the subconscious level. And the yarmulke is in Yiddish is Yarem Eloka, right? The word Yarem is having Yira Shamayim. The Gemara says that one of the Amoraim told his wife, cover his head, so you should have Yirat Shamayim. So covering your head means there's something above you. It's not the color. That's exactly.
Very good to keep on.
You're buried.
No.
You're buried with
yeah, but it's not a
with the
kippah.
cover.
It's not a kippah, and it's not tzitzis. You don't get buried with tzitzis. They're buried people with a talis.
Yes, but
without tzitzis, but there's no mitzvahs. When a person's died, there's no mitzvahs.
But when my husband died and he got buried, his kippah came up, and I put it back on his head before they threw him in the ground.
Beautiful.
Because I thought it was rock. Because that was a really nice one. It was. I made it, and it was really nice. He loved the colours.
Okay.
So I thought, and then afterwards, someone said, "Well, you shouldn't have done that." And I wondered what. Well, I wanted him to have that people with him.
It's okay.
Yes, I was okay to do that.
Right. You were taking care of him till the last second. That's very nice.
Yes.
Very nice. Okay, Chevra, we should be in touch with good news. Geulat Am Yisrael, Yeshuat Am Yisrael. Chaim.
Amen.
Thank you very much for your beautiful series, everybody.
That's a lovely bag.
Right, kids.
What's the
My bag is